Mr. Head Coach Leo Cullen, thank you. The floor is open.
Leo, maybe start first of all. Amazing win there, come back like that, especially the way you guys controlled the game from going 13 down there. That's for a young team like that. Really must have impressed you.
Yeah, no, there's great character there, isn't there? So yes, I thought we started the game well. The guys had prepped well over the last little while. You know, they used this opportunity was coming for some of them. Um, I thought we got pulled apart a bit too easily defensively. I thought, you know, it's you can see guys are sort of struggling to deal with, I suppose, the playing at slightly warmer temperatures, the altitude, which are just makes them do some funny things at times. I thought, so on their own page. So defensively, we're being pulled apart. Lions, as we know, a very good attacking team as well. So. And Lions were pretty dominant there for a period of 15, 20 minutes in the first half. So, but we sort of regrouped at half time. I thought some of those bench guys came on in the second half, made good impact. Even though we were under the pump, weren't we? So overall, yeah, we're delighted with a win over here. It looked pretty unlikely there at one stage. We were down to 13 men. But it's great character, great fighting spirit from the players. And yet, I think the main thing is they'll be better for the experience. And it's tough learning out here. Such a different environment for us. Obviously, the altitude is a big thing. The temperature we played, it wasn't too bad. I'm glad we weren't playing when Zebra-Worth at 1 o'clock during the middle of the day. So, but overall, yeah, no, we're delighted to get a win. Great experience for some of our young guys. Credit some of the older guys that have led those guys well, not just with this week, but over the last probably couple of weeks as well.
I have to ask, the news came out today about John joining your coaching team. Maybe just take us through the thought process behind that.
Well, we admire greatly what Jack has done. So, obviously we'd be aware of Jack through his time in Munster originally, and back with the Springboks, and was going on to win a World Cup. Someone Felix Jones, someone I'll remain reasonably friendly with over the last number of years because Felix came through the Leinster Academy. So if you remember that, so we would have played together at one point in time. So you've always followed their progress with great interest. So Jack's someone I've always really admired. Great coach. All the feedback I've heard on him as a coach, so he's an outstanding coach and a great man as well. So probably the man part is the thing that is most attracted to it, because you want great characters in our group. So and he's someone who's delivered at the highest level of the game. So I got talking to Jack, a little while back, and we've been back and forth a bit, and it's a fantastic appointment for us, I think, as a club, because of the experience that he has. We've a huge amount of respect for what the Springboks have achieved in recent years. If you think, there's the World Cup in 2019, but there's the Lions tour as well, where Jack has sort of gone into that head coach role. And yeah, we're really excited, delighted to secure his signature, I suppose, for post World Cup. In the short term, I suppose, Jack is going to be very focused on South Africa and delivering for the Springboks, rightly so. But when he does come to Leinster, hopefully he'll give the club a real big lift, because he's someone that, as I said, I admire greatly as a coach, but more importantly as a really great man as well.
He's coming in as a replacement for Stuart.
Yeah.
Do you see him as a like for like, or do you bring something else?
It's something different, really, isn't it? So and that's the thing, because we have a lot of players that come through the Leinster system, so through clubs and schools, and we're lucky. There's a lot of work goes in before the guys arrive in the building with us. So, when Stuart joined, he brought so much experience. So it's not just the pure coaching part; it's the off-field, all his experience that he brings to the table, leadership, etc. So. And Jack very much the same. So, we signed, say, Rob McBride joined from Wales after the last World Cup. So if you remember 2019 World Cup, so Robin would have missed the early part of the season, but then he joins it was pretty early in the season. So which would be similar type of appointment. But Robin's been with Wales for a dozen years. Another great man. Probably that's what I'm attracted to most is the character of the people. And so we've Andrew Goodman as well. So another coach who's come in from the Crusaders. Andrew Goodman played with Leinster, so I would have had that relationship with. We would have played together. Sat on the sidelines. We've been injured together as well. So that's when we actually got to know each other really, really well. So as a coaching group, those three, I'd call them three senior coaches really. So Robin, Andrew, and Jock as well. So we're lucky again with Sean O'Brien, is a young coach with us. So just recently retired. He's actually still playing club rugby, but recently retired from professional game. Pretty iconic player for Leinster. So he's someone that we want to keep investing in as well. So I think the likes of a Jacques will play a big role in terms of trying to bring the likes of a Sean on. And we've Emmett Farrell that is an analyst or head analyst, but he does a lot of coaching work as well. So because there's so many moving parts of our season, and because I think the players want to be challenged all the time, because we want we want our best guys to be able to stay in the club for their careers, which builds that sort of strong cohesion legacy. But when you get the opportunity to bring in a new coach, which we have now, because obviously with Stuart going to Racing, that's been decision was made early in the season. So we've had a bit of time to try and plan to see what it is that we're actually really after, and then it's trying to target certain people that are potentially coming off contract. The timing it's not perfect because we'll work our way through pre-season, but it's worth the wait definitely with someone of Jack's caliber.
Taking the question, what is it about the culture that came through into those games? Like I said, the Lions took the guys on the pump, but it looked like there was a big difference between a well-coached side and a side that's really that composure at the end.
Well, Lions looked pretty well coached in the first half, and we were getting pulled apart quite easily. And they scored about 4 tries in the first half. So, and Lions, particularly when they've been playing here, have been in really good form. So the pleasing bit is just the way guys stuck firm, dug in together. Lots of things weren't going our way, but we managed to find a way. And the game of rugby is a bit like that sometimes, isn't it? So you've got to be able to win many different ways. So being able to win pretty ugly times, but being able to be clinical enough as well. So, credit to the players. I have to really applaud them. But they've worked hard in the lead into this. I think definitely the conditions were a bit of a shock to the system for them. So for us now this week, we got to put in a decent week's training, because Bulls and Pretoria, as you guys will be able to tell, them probably a lot better than I will. It's a serious challenge for us, but that's what we want. We're going up against the Bulls. I was talking to Jake as they were coming off the field earlier on after their big 70-point win against Everest. So you can see that they're very focused at the moment, the Bulls, to make top 8 in Champions Cup, because that's the thing for us to always understand, the motivation of the opposition. So Bulls will be full steam, I would imagine, for next week. But for the squad that we have over here, it's going to be an amazing challenge again. So, but I definitely think we need to make sure that we are not getting sucked into patting ourselves in the back too much. There's definitely lots of things that we can get better at, and that's the focus for us this week.
Also, what are you with your team's game management? Often teams come here and they try or keep something reserved for the second half, but you seem to sort of do it in 2 ways.
Yeah, there's lots of bits from the game that we could definitely improve upon. We start the game well, but we just, we too many guys just doing their own thing, and that's what I mean. Just a little bit, it's a bit stunned by the occasion to a certain extent. So we've experienced it now. I think the group will be better for it. Because it is an unusual environment for us, so altitude, warmer than we're used to, etc. It was particularly on that far side in the first half where, the sun is strong, obviously the sun's gone in the second half, so it wasn't so much of an issue, but particularly early in that first half, or midway through that first half. But yeah, it's pleasing the way we regrouped at half time and stayed generally pretty composed. We're lucky with some of the leaders that we have. Reece Ruddock, as I said, has been fantastic for us. So he's picked up a hamstring injury. I'm not sure exactly the extent of it yet. Ed Byrne, then when he came on the second half, in terms of some of his leadership there as well, halfbacks generally played us in the right area. Managed to get into that corner a few times. Obviously, that 50-22 at the end is a huge moment. We were actually questioning why we didn't counter-attack, because I thought we had numbers to go, but then we get the 5-minute line out. So, based on the outcome, it was a very positive decision. But there's lots of parts of the game definitely that we can improve upon. And for a young group, that's the important bit now. Not get too carried away and look to improve this week, because it's a massive week for us again.
what does the win like this do for the confidence of the team? Yes, they said they dropped in the game in the URC, but they what you call second string team has won on the high felt on their first attempt, and you've got what is a string of playoffs at home to follow after the completion of the URC.
Yeah, like we make some decisions, and then you got to forge ahead with the decisions that you make. So you can you can second guess yourself, and should we have X, Y, and Z here? But the experience was too good to turn down, really, because of the situation we find ourselves in, off the back of so much good work that's gone in this season to get us to this point. So when Lions were scoring a few tries in the first half, then I sort of start to doubt some of the decisions that I'm making. But credit to the players, they made it work. And the experience will stand to them in the future. I think. Like we travelled with a relatively young group to South Africa. You remember last year where we played the Sharks in Durban. That really they were pretty stacked with Springboks as well that day, and Stormers as well in Cape Town. So there were two really good challenges for us. Two narrow losses. The game in Durban where we were camped in the Sharks line at the end, and we were just didn't quite have that composure. But to review that game, it's so invaluable for us. So it's very hard to get that experience. So without having brought the players here to go through it, and off the back of that, then we've had a lot of positive performances from some of those young guys that would have made their debuts in those couple of games last year. I talked about John McKee before the game. Like he was someone that made his debut, and he's playing the Champions Cup over the last couple of weekends. Scored a try coming off the bench the last day against Leicester Tigers. So yeah, the experience will definitely stand to the guys. But yeah, sometimes when you're blood and young guys, you have to be patient. So, but yeah, thankfully they managed to reward the faith, I guess, shown upon them.
Yeah, you guys are runaway leaders in the UFC at the moment. Obviously, plays pretty well in Champions Cup as well. What do you see as your biggest threat in the next couple of weeks? Obviously, some big games coming up.
Well, it's just on the day, isn't it now? So, like, it's on the big days. So, when you're playing the knockout games, thankfully we know where we stand in the URC. So, there's lots of other team dynamics and all the talk of permutation. So, we're not having to get sucked into that debate or narrative or conversation. So, it's quite clear. But so we've a young group that'll be challenged with this week. So that's our firm focus for this group. We'll have a group that's getting ready. Some of them will get ready. Some of these guys will come back to join that group then for the semi-final of the Champions Cup, which is a massive challenge because Toulouse are the most successful club in the European Cup's history, Champions Cup as it is now history. So that's what we're up against. So the best club in the history of the competition. So that's what we've got to get our heads around. And it's a one-off game. We played them in the semi-final last year. They've so much quality in their group, so they'll be coming to fully motivated, fully fired up, ready for the challenge, which is great. We saw a little bit of it in the Ireland-France game, the quality of that game, where a lot of those same players will be going at each other. So there's that game. Then there's the UFC quarterfinal the week after. So it's sort of as the dust settles on a game that we're fully focused on. What does it look like for us? Then you just get ready for the next one. And if you keep winning, you keep advancing. If you lose, then you have to deal with that pain and disappointment. And if you think back to this time last year, or a little bit later, we lost the Champions Cup final away in Marseille against La Rochelle, and that really stings us all. There's not many days go by where we don't think about that game. But everything we have to just focus on delivering big performances and what works for us as a group and how we go about trying to deliver big performance. So that goes back to preparing well on the training ground, making sure we understand what it is that we're trying to do to deliver on the big days. So that's what it's all about, delivering on the big days now. So hugely exciting. So yeah, trip up the road to Pretoria next week, and then we'll be back in the Aviva Stadium, Dublin, the following week for a semi-final Champions Cup. So we're not really looking too much further ahead than that.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, man. Leo. Thank you.
Okay.